Yeah, so I am I sort of help run Legion Collegiate, which is Ireland's sort of premier esports collegiate tournaments. So we have done tournaments in Rocket League, Valorant, CS:GO, Smash, and League of Legends. Sort of running, a multiple week sort of series leading up to sort of playoffs and finals to have, collegiate champions and that sort of thing. So I sort of help orchestrate and make sure that everything runs smoothly across all of the games.
Tell us a bit about yourself,
Yes.
kind of thing.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm from the States, as you can probably tell from my accent. I'm from Santa Barbara, California. Always been involved in like gaming and esports and stuff. Picked up like TF2 was sort of like my first like esportsy games, and then after that moved on to CS:GO, and really haven't dropped CS:GO since. When I was in high school, partook in some sort of like high school events and just like did that sort of thing. But then when I came to college, sort of stopped playing video games for a while, and then COVID hit. And so while COVID hit, I'm very good friends with a guy, Quigs, who's really involved or was sort of pretty involved in sort of the Irish CS:GO scene. And so because of that, I started back playing video games with him, playing CS:GO, and then from there, I sort of competed in the previous sort of iteration of Collegiate Esports in Ireland, which was ICE, and played for Trinity. And then sort of at the same time, sort of got involved in the Irish like Counter-Strike community, so ICL, and sort of helped run events and sort of built Discord bots and that sort of thing, because like I'm studying computer science, so like computers and whatnot sort of are my jam. And then from there, obviously, when ICE ceased operations, Ronan from QUB was looking to see what could be done to continue esports in Ireland, and sort of reached out to myself and another guy, Sam. And then at that point, then that's how Retsol and Legion came to be. So yeah, there you go. Esports is cool. Moral of the story.
I mean, that's why we're here. Yeah. So CS:GO is your main name, or your main?
Yeah,
main
I mean,
game?
like I haven't like. There's nothing that has like obviously like each person has their own esports that they're or their own game that they're passionate about, but nothing has sort of scratched that itch the same way that Counter Strike has for me. Like I have like 3,000 hours in the game at this point, so it's not that it's like it's not the sunk cost fallacy, but I watched a lot of pro Counter Strike when I was in high school and stuff, and sort of was involved in involved in watching the pro scene. And then like I've tried other games like Rocket League. I find fun, just not very good at it. Like League of Legends, I don't find it fun and I'm not good at it. And then like Valorant, I find fun, but it's like I don't know, it doesn't feel the same way that Counter-Strike does. And there's just a feeling in terms of like the expectation. Like obviously since I've played it for so long, like you know what to expect, like how things are. And since there is like this sort of vibrant and active community, it's at least within Ireland, something that, I've enjoyed playing and that sort of thing. So Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I get that. Overwatch is that same sort of hold on me, where it's like I don't when I'm playing it, I don't know if I'm enjoying it, but it's like, but also like at the same time I am, where it's like it's just the way the game plays is really fun to me.
Yeah, exactly. And
But
like you sort of grasp on to certain
yeah,
aspects of the game that you really enjoy.
yeah, it's like I tried to get into Valorant because it was like sort of shilled as the like CS:GO with like abilities and shit, but it's too slow for me. I don't know. CS and like tactical shooters in general feel too slow to me.
I
Um,
get that.
and like MOBAs are just disgusting. I hate them. But I did the League
Yeah.
episode. It was not good. Yeah, Connor seen.
It was a strange week.
Oh, that was because we lost the one that we recorded. We interviewed the vice president of the society. And we lost that recording. So we had like there was so much disruption that week. It was like trying to quickly get a replacement done. But it wasn't me and Connor. It was me and Harry, who's one of the other hosts. And
Yeah.
then Connor and Alex hosted like a Halloween one, which was so strange.
I probably spoke about 3 words the entire time.
Yeah, no, so it's been a rocky start, but I think our episode with Chris went well. I didn't actually get around to watching the last episode either, or listen to it, but I will at some point.
Very good.
But yeah, no, the podcast is slowly getting there.
It's good to at least like have a space to like discuss esports in Ireland and that sort of thing. Like one of the things that I find just like like it's not just even like a Legion thing or whatever. That like Ireland's a small country, right?
Yeah.
Those who play in esports in Ireland, right? It's a small community. It's not a very very large run, and the majority of people who are in it are college students or ex-college students. And like there isn't too much of sort of like a central location for people looking to get involved in esports in Ireland. Like it's super splintered. Whether like each game almost has their own community, right? Valorant is one of the few that doesn't at all. Regardless, we've tried with Irish Counter-Strike to branch out a little bit into Valorant. Didn't really work. I know Raid did something similar originally. Not sort of an active community there at all. Compared to the likes of like League or Rocket League or CS:GO or whatever, or even Smash.
Yeah.
But like, there's no sort of centralized thing. So like podcasts and stuff like that at least sort of connects all these sort of like splinter groups into one place.
Yeah, it's like Connor, you're Siege mainly, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have like all of our sort of hosts tend to have like they play a sort of different games, so we have sort of some kind of knowledge of a lot
little bit of everything.
Alex would be Rocket League, and then I'm not sure what maybe Henry's
League. Henry is League because he was able to talk about League for an hour, and I just sort of sat there and was like, yes, video game.
The CS:GO finals, I don't know. Got some of the largest numbers that we gotten so far. Obviously, it was QUB versus TUD in the finals, so a similar matchup compared to last time. What was interesting was that like TUD wasn't necessarily as dominant as they were expected to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, they like kicked ass and did what TUD do best, which is win very, very well. But considering like they had like an import player, Drags, who's very, very good at the game as well, so they had really like a stacked team. I sort of maybe expected a little bit more, not much more, but maybe just a little bit more. And I'm very careful in terms of what I'm saying, because I know that if those guys get a hold of any of this conversation, it's going to be memed on over Twitter, because Irish Counter-Strike has, I think, some of the worst reputations in terms of Twitter drama, especially like in the last couple of days. The last little while, it's been quite something. But yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I think we can go back a little bit in terms of questions if we want to like go back a little bit on how like sort of Legion came to be, right? Because like what was interesting, right? So obviously ICE had existed for like 4 years, and was run by guy Aiden. And it just wasn't really profitable for him. He was running it on his own, and whatnot. And when he sort of announced the closure of ICE, he like there was obviously still a vibrant community of players that still wanted to play. And so Ronan from QUB, like I mentioned earlier, sort of started to put together like all of like the different like society leaders and all like the different like esports reps together, and to sort of try formulate like what sort of avenue could we bring for Irish esports, because across the board there is still a community that existed that wanted to continue to play. And so having played in Newell, Ronan was sort of reaching out to them, and I had been reaching out just for like Irish Counter-Strike things with different like organizations, esports organizations within Ireland, because there's like a couple. And sort of one of them sort of had asked me if I knew anything that was going on with if I knew anything that was going on with like ICE, and I was like, well, I actually happen to know a lot about everything that's going on, and that was Legion Esports or Gamer Store, whatever you want to call them. And so sort of from there, this was at the start of August, we sort of began to look at like, okay, well then they were interested in getting involved. And so we had a bit of a back and forth on what that was going to look like, what their involvement was going to look like, sort of what they expected from us, and sort of how the structure of the organization would work. And so myself, Sam, and Bukel, myself, Bukel, and Roe, so Sam and Roe, we put together sort of what it all looked like, hired admins, got casters, so on and so forth, and sort of went to fill in the gap, and it has been super successful, right? We saw over 600 players from over 30 universities, or like third level institutions, competing. And like, a couple of the changes that we introduced, allowing, an imported player from a a university or third level that is less than 1,000 students, and like getting those people more involved. We saw a lot of fruition from there. We saw a lot of growth in Valorant this season. We had 24 teams sign up for Valorant, or 23 teams sign up for Valorant, which is huge compared to like the last collegiate event in Ireland with Valorant had like 9 or something along those lines. So it was all really exciting to see. And we're not done yet. We still have Rocket League and League of Legends that we have to sort of wait for it to sort of wrap up and stuff. But I know anyway that Gamer Store and Legion, same thing, are pretty happy with the way that things have been running, and we have a lot of like really exciting plans for next season, which should be really fun. And so, when that's going to be starting, signups are going to be around like the 31st of January, so it's actually pretty soon.
Yeah, don't date this episode or anything, but it is between New Year's and Christmas.
Yes, yeah, there you go. But it's happened quickly.
Yeah, just so you'll all know how long it takes Mark to edit this.
There you go.
He's gonna cut this bit out then.
He's gonna. Mark doesn't cut anything. We could talk about it. We could say whatever we wanted. Mark wouldn't cut it. But yeah, on the subject of Legion being a huge success as it is, are there any plans to like expand it game wise, or are you keeping the same sort of roster of games, or is that something you can't talk about yet? Or
so I mean, I don't mind sort of half announcing it here because it's already been sort of semi distributed amongst casters and some players and that sort of thing. The sort of plan for next semester is we're going to continue with the games that we've seen a lot of success on this semester, notably like Rocket League, League of Legends, Valorant, and Counter-Strike. We've got that format sorted. We're switching to Swiss groups for all of that so that we can have fair competitions and that sort of thing leading into a top 8 playoffs. But from there, what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be introducing, we don't have a name for it, but they're like going to be like shorter games, shorter sort of seasons, sort of like testers to see how that is. So that's going to include Halo Infinite, Rainbow Six, and F1 2021. And so the idea is it's going to be either 2 or 3 weeks long. So for F1, it's going to be 3 weeks. R6 is going to be 3 weeks, and Halo Infinite is going to be 2 weeks. It'll be like sort of a single elimination tournament, or F1. We haven't really sorted that out yet. But then you sort of start to trial those games to see, if there's obviously enough interest. So it's not going to be sort of on the same scale as the other games, but if there's enough interest, obviously from our feedback that we got, there was a significant amount of interest. So we'll sort of see what players show up, what sort of viewership that we get in terms of Twitch streams and that sort of thing. And then sort of use that as like sort of a trial to move on. And obviously we plan on keeping Smash. We just haven't figured out what that format is going to look like yet, especially just with the ongoing COVID pandemic, because Smash events are in person. And I think I just saw a message from a friend there saying that there was 16,000 cases in the Republic of Ireland today.
Yeah, we've been having fun.
So it's not, that's going to be a big question up in the air there. But we'll have a couple new games, which should be fun.
Yeah, no,
Exciting.
I can see Connor sort of perk up at the Siege announcement there. Halo
signed up at all.
Yeah. Halo should be interesting as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, so what's cool, so obviously we're moving the majority of our operations over onto Faceit because of Swiss brackets, and actually Faceit have partnered with Microsoft or whatever the developer is under Microsoft that makes Halo. And so Faceit is the official platform for Halo tournaments and has this like really nice integration. And so through my work with, Faceit partner people, we have sort of beta access to that, which sort of will allow for like this nice like tournament to be able to be run. And then obviously, like, I know in the US anyway, I know it wasn't as popular in Europe so much, but Halo as an esport was huge.
Yeah.
And like I know that in the last while there hasn't been a Halo that has sort of filled the gap of like Halo 2, Halo 3 in terms of popularity and sort of esportsness. And so now with Halo Infinite, with the move to free to play and that sort of thing, there is a big focus on esports, and there seems to be a lot of interest at the moment. So the question is that interest going to continue on forward? Who knows? Does that mean that then we can do it for 2 weeks and get teams to do 2 weeks worth? Definitely. So we'll sort of see how that works.
Might need to grind some Halo. Fucking
Yeah, there you go. Get a
that.
QUB team.
Yeah. You in, Connor?
There's a lot of interest in the server and stuff
Yeah.
around Halo, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And like at
like
the end of
this
the day,
too.
right, is that we want to serve the community best, right? Like, so there's the two sort of things to balance, right? Or three things to balance, right? You've got what the players want, and what the players want to play, which is great and all. But at the end of the day, you also have the Twitch viewership, which is what sponsors look at, and like in terms of esports in Ireland, because our player base is relatively small, only about 600 players. What attracts sponsors is viewership on streams, because you can reach a much broader group of people, not just the players, right? You compare to the likes of Newell or NSC, right? Newell and NSC are going to get thousands of players that the advertisement perspective is actually advertising to the players themselves, not the viewers, because Newell's streams actually only get around the same number of viewers that we get in Legion, between the, 300, or sorry, the 30 views to like 200 views, right? I think their top cap is a little bit higher than ours are. So it means that like a game might be popular like within like the community, but somehow it needs to be profitable for sponsors to look like. So it's balancing those two things. That is a little bit difficult, but we've done it well so far. Hopefully we continue to do well. Hopefully there's no more drama. We did pretty good I think, this year, avoiding any drama or much drama. So, I just hope that we don't get a repeat of what Siege was in Ice. I'll be honest, that's the biggest thing that I'm scared of.
What happened with Siege and Ice? I haven't followed anything.
So Siege used to be one of the titles that Ice did.
Okay.
And then there was this huge sort of like cheating accusation, and then people were saying that it was like super clear that your man was like aim locking or like looking at stuff through walls or something along those lines. And then Ice sort of came out and said, no, we think that that's not the case. And then there were essentially a lot of like, not threats, but like really aggressiveness happening in the server, where they were sort of accusing Ice and the admins of Ice of not knowing anything about the game and this and that. And because of that, they just dropped the game entirely and never came back to it.
Nice.
And that was like this was like when I first sort of got involved in Ice, and it was really funny. Just like they sort of shut down, they locked the Rainbow Six like text channel, and then that was sort of it. That there was nothing more. That was just it. So like it's just we want to be careful, sort of obviously around that, and to not have something happen. But I think there's a lot that can be learned about the way that Ice like dealt with that situation and similar situations in the past, in terms of player privacy, communication about issues and stuff like that, where I think we've been able to learn a lot as a community of what to expect, but also how to do things and mistakes that were already made. And the benefit of coming in sort of 5 years in to Collegiate Esports in Ireland is that Ice laid a lot of the groundwork and did make a lot of mistakes, and we can take from that and improve on that, and hopefully create a better environment that students want to continue to play in.
Yeah. No, I sort of I empathize with the difficulty of like having a tournament or running a tournament that like with that many people is like people get pissed off really easily. And like trying to handle that. I used to run, well, I say used to, it's still technically do one of like the bigger like Overwatch tournaments for like lower ranked players. So it was like gold and below. It was like to sort of help like with their improvement and stuff, and give them like a tournament environment that sort of cater to them as opposed to all the high the most tournament
Yeah.
esports is done at the highest level.
Yep.
And there was every tournament we ran, there was something. There was like Smurfs, which didn't make any sense. There was no prize. It was like people just came in, like Sinatra. He moved to Valorant and then got involved in that. Whatever. Not going to talk about that. He tried to sign up on a Smurf, and it was like, oh, why? What are you getting for this? And it's like people were complaining about that constantly, and it's just trying to get.
Yeah, there's a lot, and the thing is that when you start to deal with big numbers, right, is that like to each player, it's a personal issue.
Yeah.
But to myself, I don't know about 1/8. Like I only know maybe about 1/8 of the people involved in Collegiate Esports in Ireland, right? I'd like to say that I know everyone. I recognize people's Discord names now, but like I'm not making decisions. The admins aren't making decisions based off of their involvements or their friends or whatever. It is purely like sort of an objective thing because, quite frankly, we don't have the time to be involved in every single sub community and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not that we'd be invited anyway, but like you do keep this sort of like broadness, and that can frustrate people just based off of the fact that you can't know everything that's going on every time, and you're making decisions just based around the context that you're involved in it in, so specifically within the collegiate esports context. And if someone takes the time to explain it to us from other perspectives, that can be greatly beneficial. But a lot of the times, like these decisions, when we're discussing them, like internally, if there are any issues, which there have been a few in the first season, where we're coming from is specifically within the college esports space, hopefully not damaging any other relationships within esports in Ireland, because we'd want to, growth in the entire sector is growth for everyone. It's not just like us against them,
Yeah. How long are you planning on staying involved in Legion for? Or is that
That's a good question.
not something on your like
It's
radar at the
not
minute?
something. Yeah, like I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm finishing at a certain point, right? Like what I hope to build is something that can be sustainable and outgrow me,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't like, obviously, like professionally I'm going into software engineering. That's like what I study and that sort of thing. Like, and then anyway, the work that I do at the moment is mostly in the evenings or weekends or whatever. So it's not necessarily that it will always conflict. But I want something that isn't reliant on me. That if someone who's as motivated as I am wants to fill in gaps or wants to do work, I'm not going to stop someone from getting involved. And I want it to be able to go into perpetuity, because obviously, like, you can have an organization that is solely based around a singular person, and that works really well when that person is in charge and running things. But you're not setting up that organization for success if it's only that person that's going to run, right? And I've seen this in societies, I've seen this in clubs, from when I was in high school to in college and stuff. Like, you see sort of this rotating door of people that come in and come out, and that's just natural. It's just what happens. It happens in businesses, it happens in organizations and societies. And so somehow you need to build something that can sort of run on its own and sort of create people that want to get involved the similar way that I've gotten involved, or Ronan has gotten involved, or Sam has gotten involved, and continue to move things forward. It's not that I'm going to quit tomorrow, right? I don't see that happening at all, or any way, shape, or form. But I want to build something that lasts, and who knows what that might look like. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm still involved anyway for the next foreseeable future.
Be funny to announce that here, though. It's like, yep, quitting tomorrow. Gone.
I'm announcing it here.
Yeah. This podcast that like 50 people watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the moment, actually, I'm currently working on a platform for authentication of students. That's one of the big things that ICE didn't have, and that was very time consuming for us last year in terms of verifying student. So instead of signing up, so obviously we're moving to Faceit, but instead of signing up directly through Faceit, we're going to have a site where you log in and verify your email account. And once you're a verified student, and all of the members of your team are verified students with us, then you'll be sent a direct invite through Faceit to join the tournament. So you'll just like fill out the form there and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, now we'll have like our own little like wrapper and thing like that. So that's what I've been working on in my very limited free time.
Yeah. Hopefully more reliable than Yule's. It seems to go down every match night.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting test, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
at the very least, right, like the match, it's only on the sign up process, right? Like all the games are going to be hosted through Faceit. Once you're
Yeah.
signed up through Faceit, then you're signed up through Faceit, and that's it. Um, like here we're gonna hope that like what I'm worried about, I'll be legitimately honest, is that the minute that I announce it and I say that signups are over, at that point it crashes because then everyone tries to access it at the exact same time,
Yeah.
and then like it sort of shits the bed. But I would like to hope that my software development skills have prepared me enough to be able to manage that sort of thing because it's only 600 users maximum sort of accessing this site at one go.
Yeah.
Um,
You should
so I think it should be mostly fine.
announce it sort of evening for you so that it happens in the middle of the night for us. So like
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just
That's
gets people
that's the
waking up.
plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Sort of like get it on, and once people start to sign up and stuff, like I've been testing it as I've been working on it, and once we get to like we're nearly at a stage with the site now where we have all sort of the pieces and separate components, and it's just about now connecting all the dots together and that sort of thing, and then hosting it somewhere. So like and also styling it because right now it just looks like a bunch of blue and white buttons. But once that's all sort of put together, then like obviously we'll test it. I have a month to get it done anyway.
Yeah, loads of time.
And so plenty of time. I'll
Yeah.
get it done in a weekend. Like
In
Almost
terms
everything.
of events, smaller events, maybe not to do with competitive esports, anything coming up either now or close to now or in the future?
yeah, so at the moment our focus obviously has been pretty focused on like competitive esports because it's what gets people really involved in that sort of thing. But we did run a crab game sort of community night in the middle of the season, which was pretty fun, and lots of people sort of got. We had like 40 people show up, which was really
Nice.
cool over the course of the evening. And we want to do things like that in the future. The only thing is that like we can't like Ice tried to do it every week. That's not going to work because no one's going to show up to something every week, right? Once a month, I think is probably every 3 weeks is probably like a good sort of benchmark for it. But those sorts of things take up time to organize, and at the moment, my time organizing has been spent sort of preparing for the next season and that sort of thing. So the plan is to do those sorts of things. What exactly that's going to look like, don't know. Um, you know, uh, we're going to just sort of have to see. I think for me, I'm going to have more time next semester because I'm actually going to be working full time in an internship. So it means that my evenings and weekends will actually be free to work on things that I actually want to work on, not just do college work endlessly, which you seem to do whenever you're in college.
Weird
So
that.
hopefully it should mean, yeah, I know. Hopefully I should have just a better sort of work-life balance, and then at that point like we should be able to do that. But there'll be lots of announcements coming soon anyway to announce sort of what the season's going to look like, what the schedule's going to look like, nice graphics for all of that sort of thing. So should be good.
Nice.
Should be good. And then I see here on the thing there's also summer events, the
Oh
big
yes.
question mark.
Yeah. We
I
don't
don't
write
know.
these. Who writes these? I don't even know anymore.
I don't know.
we just get
sent to
sent
us.
these documents. They're like, talk about this. Okay.
I don't know if we're going to do summer events because I know there's some interest, but I don't know if there's enough interest to actually make it happen. We saw Ice tried to do summer events for the first time this last summer and didn't run a single one of them.
And then they folded.
And then they folded. Yeah, well, it shows you what's going on. They tried to do sort of like a weekend sort of summer thing. And the thing with college esports is that like people get involved while they're in college, but summertime, everyone's on a different schedule. Everyone is off, with their family. They're off on vacation. They're off working. It's a very different story in terms of organization, and you'd need a pretty strong community to be able to do something. And a lot of people just aren't in the college sort of mindset, so they're not thinking about college, not doing that. So I don't know if it's going to happen. We've talked about it a little bit, but there hasn't really been a decision made on it. But we just want to make sure that if we do it, that there's going to be success, because there's no point in overwhelming students with a lot of tournaments and a lot of games that they don't get involved in, because at the end of the day, involvement in numbers is what makes the whole thing possible. So Should be good. I mean, one of the things that I am looking forward to for next season as well, on top of like the new format and the new games, is hopefully we should be having like a higher broadcast quality, where we're sort of looking at getting some like custom HUDs made and that sort of thing, and custom overlays and that sort of stuff, and having like dedicated producers and stuff for specific games and specific titles. So hopefully that means that then we'll be able to, you know, have like a higher production value, which should be really cool. Because then it looks and feels more professional. So
Yeah.
that should be exciting.
I guess sort of step away from the competitive side. I know we are an esports podcast, but to step away from the competitive side, do you play many casual games yourself, or is it all just CS and Rocket League?
That's a good question. Let me have a look at my most recent Steam games to tell you. I've actually gotten into playing Beat Saber recently.
Yeah, it's good fun.
I got a VR headset over COVID when it was originally like back in March, when the country wasn't reopening before summer. I was like, I'm gonna get myself something to keep myself entertained. So I mean, it's not exactly competitive. It's like casual, but it's also not super casual, if you know what I mean. You know, I also got into playing F1 2021 too, which was also fun. Yeah, I don't really play casual games.
Oh, fair.
And see, the thing is that like this is, I think this is just sort of, it's interesting, right? Because everything that I do, if I do something, I do it to like the fullest extent. Like if I get involved in something, I like to like push the limits of my involvement, right? So like say in the Collegiate Esports and organizing stuff, right? Obviously, like I'm super involved in making sure that things happen and that sort of thing. In Irish Counter-Strike, and obviously I play a lot, but I'm also again super involved in running events and running tournaments and that sort of thing. The same as can be said in games. If I'm gonna pick up a game, first I have to like it, and second of all, I want to get good at it. Like I want to, like I have this sort of drive to get things done, and so like it's not that I'd have to start all over starting in a new game. Like that's not necessarily appealing, but there hasn't been a game that I felt like, you know, this has sort of hit my spot that I enjoy game and I really want to work harder at it. You know, compared to like Counter-Strike, which is like that has hit that spot.
Yeah. I bought a Switch whenever the pandemic sort of looked like it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I tried to get really good at Mario Odyssey. I wanted to start speedrunning it, but I was never, I don't know, I couldn't get some of the tricks down. Like the big time saving tricks was just like, I said, there was never really any progress on that one.
Fair.
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm looking through my like recently played Steam games. A very fun game to play is a game called Nerds. It's a free game, and it is competitive solitaire.
Oh, I got big into solitaire like a few years ago. What's it called?
It's multiplayer. It's called Nerds. It's a multiplayer solitaire game. Okay. It's actually crazy. It's so much fun. I would recommend anyone who's watching this play it with a few friends. It's super addicting and very, very good.
That looks. Is that like solitaire battle royale? Like what?
Kind of. So the thing, right, is that you're playing solitaire, and then all of the aces go into a center place, right?
Right.
And your goal is to get rid of your cards, and depending on how you get rid of your cards, you start at negative points, and you get points as you like get rid of certain cards and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And when you get rid of all of the cards, so you can see in the graphic there, you have like a pile of cards sort of on the top left hand side. Mm-hmm. Those cards are what get you points, and they're sort of randomized, and you need to get those cards out. And once you get rid of all those cards, you call Nerds, and so then at that point, then you sort of you wrap up the round, and you get points or you lose points, and then it's like first to 100 points.
Okay.
So
that sounds very fun.
It's so hectic and so much fun. It's actually a really fun game. But again, see, it's all got to do with competition. Everything's about competition.
When's it coming to Legion?
So, there you go.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely install that one. That one looks great fun. I played like in a similar vein. I played a lot of Tetris as well. The new like Tetris Effect. I've played a lot of that as well. I got really into that over lockdown. I would just sit like blasting music, playing Tetris, and just lose hours.
It's a good time killer.
Yeah, too good at times. But yeah,
it's going towards that time.
Yeah. For what?
Time to whop out the iguana.
Is it? It's only been like half an hour.
Oh, is it? Sorry, Mark.
It has. Oh, the last one was the last one was an hour. I lied, but episode 3 was 35 minutes.
Oh yeah, that was the Halloween one. That was the panic episode. That it was. I like no harm, but I wouldn't have listened to it again.
No. I don't know why we done it.
No.
Silly.
It was very strange. It was like Halloween movie review. Was what it turned into. It was a very strange one, but
I was sort of just like shoved in to go do it, and I was like, no worries.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't even remember what we like talked about on the other ones that like filled time. I think that it's just a slow night. I think it's sort of like that week between Christmas and New Year where it's just like time doesn't work.
What did you do for Christmas?
Yeah, how was your Christmas?
It was fine. Tried not to get COVID. I'm obviously back in the US. Tried not to get COVID while traveling back. I'll be real honest with you. I have a lot of assignments due in January. Even though I had my exams back before Christmas. The last day for Trinity that they can set exams for or set assignments for is the 18th of January. And so a bunch of professors have like set things due like 4th of January and like 7th of January and 12th. So like I've literally just been seeing a couple of people that I haven't seen in about 2 years, and then otherwise just working away assignments. It sounds really lame. Like I haven't even like, and the other thing, right, is that like my PC is back at home. I'm just on my like laptop and stuff, so it's not even that I can like game or really do anything. It's just like I have no distraction, and the weather's been shit. Here I come back to California thinking, I'm gonna get some sunshine, get some nice vitamin D, and it's actually raining. Like right now, it's raining.
It actually only really rained here like today. It's been fine otherwise.
Listen, I've apparently just took the bad weather with me.
Actually, what are we doing? We're talking about the fucking weather. Not supposed to curse. Sorry about that. Mark can cut
Good
that.
Irish college.
Mark can cut that. Yeah, no, I did something similar in just trying not to catch COVID. Feels like I know more people isolating now than like I ever have in the last 2 years. I guess it's
really, it definitely has hit our age group in a way that it didn't before. And I mean, and it is concerning, right? Because like we still have the last in-person event we have for Legion, to bring it back to esports, is the Smash playoffs, the Smash finals. And obviously that's meant to happen in Dublin sometime in January, but it's been very hard to actually set a location and date for it because none of the colleges know what they're doing. Like there is a limit on terms of events at the moment and the number of people and whatnot. And so like there's just a very, very big question mark at the moment in terms of running it. And also from a personal standpoint, right, I don't want to put students at risk.
Yeah.
That's like the big thing for me where I'm like, you know, I know that things might be specifically allowed and some students might be willing to take that sort of risk, but I don't want to like essentially be a vector for the virus to sort of transmit more than I have to be. And so it's sort of balancing all of those things in a way that makes sense for students that we haven't figured out yet because we don't have a location nor do we have a date. So that is a January problem.
You don't really want every Smash player in Ireland to come down with COVID.
No, not the top 16 Smash players. It'd be pretty. I'd feel pretty bad about myself. Not gonna lie.
Got the entire scene.
Right, event. And then the other option is doing like an online event, right? But Smash players hate online events. Actually, just it's the worst for them.
Switch Online is disgustingly bad. Like they
Yeah,
haven't improved it since the Wii days. Like Nintendo Online is just, it has not improved in the last 2 decades.
yeah. So then you look at that, and it's like, well, we don't really have any other option. In terms of like, if we want to like run a proper event and an event that the students want to compete in, it should be in person. So then the question is, do we delay? Do we move on? And like at the moment, it's a time will tell, because things don't seem to be looking to get better.
Here's a bit of a strange question. I don't know how it would work, but have you ever thought of maybe a collaboration between yourselves and one of the UK based scenes, whether that be NC or Neil?
That's an interesting idea, right? Because so I don't know if you know much about like the organizational structure of esports or collegiate esports in Europe, right? But one of the big like sponsors of Newell is Amazon, right? And Amazon is super involved in Newell, and more broadly this organization called the University Esports Masters, right? Which is for Rocket League. Well, originally it was only for League of Legends, but now they've expanded to Clash Royale, League of Legends, Rocket League, and Team Fight Tactics, whatever
that's the league one, isn't it?
The league one, yeah. So their main title being that, but they're sort of all under this Amazon esports sort of thing. And I know that not only are Newell sort of specifically a part of that, sort of in a tier 1 sort of fashion, but so are a few other sort of esports organizations or collegiate esports organizations around the country and that sort of thing. And I believe, now I can't say this concretely or any way, shape, or form, but I know that there was there was talks between that organization, that sort of broader organization, and ICE beforehand. I know that like what we're looking to do is really suit Irish players at the moment. Right, like Irish players. So if you win Rocket League, the top 2 teams are going to be able to compete in the Uni Rocketeers, which is sort of a broad thing. The top team will also be able to compete in the UEM. Our top league team will also be able to compete in the UEM, and I think we're pretty comfortable at the moment being our own entity, in terms of serving Irish players. And then like I'd like to be able to work with them. Obviously, Irish players at the moment can compete in Newell, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things that's special about the Irish scene compared to like Newell or something along those lines is that there is a bit of a sense of community in terms of the colleges across the country, which then again, I don't play in Newell, so I don't necessarily know if I'm the best person to speak to this, but I don't see that same sort of community involvement in the sort of Newell space or the NSC space in terms of like at least within the Discord, right, which is my only sort of interaction with it. And so I want to make sure that we're maintaining the sense of community and sense of identity for Irish players, and that it's not just being gobbled up by this much broader sort of English scene, because that sort of self-identity I think is really important to Irish people as just people, but also sort of just on a broader perspective, just for the sort of Irish like esports scene. And then as well on top of that, so don't know if you know much, but Legion, not only do they do like the collegiate events, but they've actually been doing esports like tournaments for FIFA, Fortnite, and Rainbow Six, and they're moving into a couple of other games into the new year and that sort of thing. So they're sort of looking with those tournaments, obviously to the Irish audience, but to actually a broader audience and that sort of thing. So there's potential, there's stuff, but at the end of the day, when you work in esports, I think the biggest thing that I've really learned is everyone likes to do their own thing their own way, and somehow you have to like mesh to make it all work in a way that works for players, because at the end of the day, it's like the players that matter, and it's their best experience.
That's an answer.
That was a firm no on the battle of the countries.
Yeah, I mean, like, because the thing is that, right, like, there's like there's it's It's what's important. Like I think I've said this a few times, is the players, right? There's lots of things you could do, but does it actually legitimately serve the best interest of players? Don't know if it does, to be real honest with you. And so at the moment, we sort of have to see, like, wait and see, you know, what ways can we do that? Because already, like the top Irish teams are going to be able to compete, sort of internationally, like for League, Rocket League, and like for the likes of Valorant and CS:GO. Face It are moving into the CS:GO space, in Europe for collegiate events, doing sort of a broader European sort of push with a bunch of like sub tournaments per region and stuff like that. So I think there's actually going to be a mixed, like Irish UK region, I think. Nothing's been sort of fully announced about what those regions look like, but I have spoken to the guys a little bit about that. And there is a potential that the top, team from Ireland that we could qualify into it. The only thing is that then you look at these tournaments, and these tournaments is like €100 entry, and it's like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
For teams to sign up on. So like, does that suit students? And like, because there's so many different ways to get involved. Sometimes what's actually best is simplifying all of that and making it clear that this is what you do. There's one thing and you do it. Like, if, say, for example, Aiden won the lottery, right? Ice Aiden won the lottery and decided that he wanted to bring back Ice, right, with the money that he won from the lottery. I think that that would be very detrimental to the esports scene in Ireland, because it would really splinter college players in terms of two different places, and in a scene that is already small. I don't think that that's beneficial. And like the hope for me is that we're able to grow Legion into something that is bigger than just, a few teams per university, and that there's a more vibrant community of esports, and across all games too, and not just in college, right? Like, I compare my biggest two things that I always compare to when I'm thinking of like small countries that are very successful in esports, right? You take in CS:GO, you take Denmark, right? Denmark has about the same population as Ireland, but has the biggest player base per capita of any country in the world. They have like huge amounts of involvement in Counter-Strike specifically, and other esports as well. And like their events, their LAN events, their whole community is super vibrant to super small, and or not super small, but super big. And they have like, a similar population as we would. Same goes for Iceland. Iceland's an even smaller country compared to like America, or sorry, compared to Ireland. But they still managed to have a super vibrant esports like community. And so with that, like I would like to sort of try to grow that same sort of involvement. It takes work, it takes years, but I think it's possible. But that's sort of like what I sort of would like to sort of serve, and you have to be tactical about it, right? Like, it doesn't happen by accident, or at least I don't think it does. Like, okay, maybe it did in the early 2000s, but in this sort of like modern era where anyone can organize anything, right? It's great that like platforms such as Face It and Challenger Mode and Smash.gg and Challenge and all these different things allow for people to very easily create tournament platforms and create organizations to do that, right? But it takes, I think, dedicated effort, dedicated individuals to continue and maintain and grow something sort of from a grassroots sort of perspective, which, if you create something, right, that is lasting, say like Legion continues to move on into the future, that it continues to want to do, you're going to have kids that are going to look and be like, oh, my older brother plays in this, my sibling plays in that, my sister does this, and so on and so forth. And it's through that then this sort of like younger generation of kids will get involved in esports and will continue to be involved in esports, sort of growing the scene from the ground up. And you have to clearly present options to them so that it's clear as they're growing older, this is what I want to get involved in. Just as much as there's going to be new games for players to participate in, it's also, someone isn't going to look at a dead community and say, like let's take Quake for example, really fun game, but there's like 12 players in all of Ireland that take it seriously. So someone isn't going to look and be like, oh, I'm going to pick this game up because I enjoy it. They're going to say, well, I enjoyed, and there's a community.
There was an attempt to revive Quake last year.
I know,
for a couple of tournaments. Yeah, it didn't go too well. I don't think. I was going to take part in one, but I don't know if it ever happened.
There were 2 tournaments. I partook in one of them. Right, but like it's really hard to create a community of players, right? Like you have to like not only have sort of a broad enough player base, but you also need to know people that are actively and willing to continue and be part of the core base, and that aren't sort of flaky, and sort of keep those people interested and cater to those people while being open to other people. That's one of the big things, like with sort of the Irish Counter-Strike stuff that I've seen, is that, right, like, there's a core of about 100 players that are pretty active within the Counter-Strike community in Ireland, but there's a bigger pool of about 1,000 players that will hop in and out, and it's how do we grow that 1,000 players to be 2,000 and so on and so forth, because at that point those bigger numbers who sort of come in and come out will allow for bigger competitions, better competitions, LAN events to be able to partake in that sort of thing, and those are what players do want, right? It's sort of the duality. It's business, right? Like it's the player doesn't know exactly what they want until you show it to them, and so it's finding out what that player wants even though they may not know it yet.
So James has alluded to this video that went viral a few years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, of a lady doing, I think it was yoga on a beach.
Yep.
And this iguana sort of just rocks up, so real friendly looking, and she's sort of talking to it.
As friendly looking as an iguana can be.
Yeah. She seems like she's talking about it and whatever, and she I think either she reaches out her hand.
Does not bite her
foot.
It
snaps. Yeah, was it? I thought it was her hand.
I don't know. It bites.
You're throwing it. I don't know about you, like, but it was her foot. It was a foot or her hand. It bit. Yeah. And she like flips it, throws it. Probably a good bit. So basically, his question was, how far do you think you could throw an iguana?
I was really wondering where this question was going to go.
Yeah, no,
that's a very good question.
So we have done a bit of research into this as well.
Okay. How much does an average iguana weigh?
About 4 kilos.
Okay.
And I don't know what that is in American, but like
I'm gonna look what it is in American. Don't you worry.
In American.
In American, yeah. You know what I mean?
Actually, technically speaking, it's the Brits that came up with that. It's an imperial system.
Yeah, but you're the only ones that still use it.
That's true.
They also
it's like 9 pounds.
Okay. When for all of our American viewers, we'll know that for the future. But yeah, we also learned that iguanas detach their tails when threatened. So you can't swing it around by the tail. That won't work. It is going to be alive. You got to just basically pick it up and throw it however way you think would be most effective. And,
I think probably the most effective way to throw an iguana, right, is holding it from the body and just like chucking it like that. I think that's probably like your best bet. Because they've got like short little stumpy legs, so it's not like you can hold on to their legs. Their tails are going to fall off. If you're holding them from their face, that's just uncomfortable, and they're probably going to bite you. So your best bet really is to grab it from the side and throw it for, I don't know, I could chuck it at a good few feet anyway. Who knows?
We want an exact number though, because we are tracking these.
Oh, you're tracking these. You want an exact number?
Yeah.
In meters.
No, you can say it. I'll convert it later. It's all right.
Oh, I think I could probably throw something of that size and weight, probably about like 7 feet. I'd say 6 or 7 feet.
So that's about 2 meters.
I think because they're not going to be very aerodynamic either.
No, they're not going to want to be thrown either. Like they're
exactly. So I think that's probably your like max I could probably do.
You know, that is the most conservative guess we've had so far. I think
anything else is a little bit like
someone said like 200 meters or something.
I think that was you. I think
Was it?
I think so. It was okay. It was in the last episode. Nobody has to hear about it.
Right, like I think going any further than that, you're just being very hopeful that you can grab on it. Because also, right, like they're kind of scaling, kind of awkward to hold. So you're not gonna have like a really good throwing sort of angle. And I'm not necessarily the strongest person. So there you go.
He's humble. You heard it here first. But yeah, no, it's I find this to be quite an interesting sort of, I don't know, question, because it shows what people think of themselves as well. And
I see. I can see that.
Like Tick Connor thinking he could throw a fucking 4 kilo iguana 200 meters. It's optimistic.
Yeah,
maybe off a cliff, a 200 meter cliff. Yeah. But no. Yeah. Well, I think we've probably taken up enough of your time away from assignments. But thank you.
Yeah, I have to go back to work.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
And
pleasure.
Yeah, listening to this shite for an hour.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, I don't know when this will go out. It might be a couple of weeks. It might be a month. It's up to Mark. But it is the 29th of December.
It's 29th of December. Just don't forget to get signed up for the new season.
It's meant to be out on a Sunday, Mark. Right? Not halfway through a week.
Yeah.
On a Sunday.
We are recording this on the 29th of December. Just we should have like peppered that throughout, just so you couldn't cut them all. But yeah, no. Thanks very much. It was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't even know what the next one's gonna be. It'll be Alex and Harry anyway.
So, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be wonderful. I didn't watch the last one. I'm sure it was great too. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you got this far, all that stuff. If you haven't already, tell us how far you think you could throw an iguana in the comments, because we want
Don't
the
forget
game
to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, hit that bell, like this video. I don't care.
Share the video.
Yeah, make sure you share it with all your friends and ask them how far they could throw iguanas, because that's what this podcast is really all about. It's not esports.
Follow us all on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Mark, get our Twitter handles off. Let's get Retsol a follow if he has a Twitter. I don't know. Do you have a Twitter?
I have actually 2 Twitters. I have like a gaming Twitter and a non-gaming Twitter.
Maybe I'm missing out on something.
Have a look at Legion. Join if you play any of the games, etc., etc.
Yeah, at Legion Collegiate on Twitter, or Legion College on Twitter. Is that what we are? I think we are at Legion College, and then also, gamerstore.ie, and then /collegiate or whatever it is. Just go to gamerstore.ie and buy lots of cool stuff, and then also find tournaments. So there you go.
Yeah, look at that's our end of podcast chill. Go buy stuff. I
can use 10%. You can use code Legion for 10% off. The more you know.
10% off as well. Look at that, crazy. Yeah, Mark might cut this.
What, Ronan could give us discounts like this?
Yeah.
Well, you could use that discount. Nothing is stopping you. You're a college student, and
yeah. So it was like Legion for 10% off.
Discounts.
Yeah, code Legion on gamerstore.ie. They've got like all of the gaming peripherals you could ever need in your life. From brands such as Trust Gaming and Corsair, Elgato, SteelSeries, Razer, Thrustmaster, so on and so forth.
It's like he's reading off a script.
No. Listen, I did live video production for 4 years. And when it comes to shilling for things or pretending you know what you're saying, I've got that down.
Yeah,
right?
I can tell.
Eventually, you just sort of you get into like a pattern and a flow,
Yeah. Yeah, our outros always take far too long. I will take notes. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm just gonna start selling things at the end of the podcast. It's not gonna be related.
If you were like a Fredo.
25p now. 25p for a Fredo. Sorry, we'll not get into that.
Don't start.
No, we'll not get into that. It's the end. All right. Yeah. Thanks. And I never had any of these, so bye. I think. Yeah.
He's still going.